Question number one, how would you go about building a content marketing team? Okay. Short answer, you need 3 key people in content marketing team. One, a very good writer who has a tremendous grasp of the language. And I'm not talking only English, depending on the language you are doing. You need somebody who really understands the inside of language and especially understand what's being spoken on social as conversational language. 1. 2, you need a person who has futuristic ability where design is concerned and is able to understand what color spectrum triggers what emotions. Just a digression over here. For many who might not know, there is something called color logic. And if you know, please look it up, please study it. It's a short, this thing. Colors impact moods. Moods are emotions. Emotions impact thoughts and actions. So get the second one, which is a great person who is able to give you that identity from a visual perspective, is able to translate words into pictures. Remember the saying, the cliche, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So that's the second person. The third person you need is somebody who is a very efficient project manager. Now, this third person is key, is actually the hub. You see, creating the content, writing it or designing it is not difficult. You'll get the right resource. But ensuring the right content goes out in the right channel at the right time and is not killed by a new content immediately is where the project management person comes out. So have these 3 people. These 3 people are, you have to try few people, few services, social agencies to get them, and you'll have a content marketing team. If you're a marketing head and you don't have this in-house, my strong advice and recommendation would be to outsource and tie them up into a retainer for the year, because if you were to do it piecemeal with 20 pieces of content per channel per month, you're really going to hit your budget very badly. So that's question 1, how to go about building a content marketing team. 2, how do you decide your marketing budget? Yeah, good question. Good question. Let me tell you this. The thumb rule usually would be 10% of your revenue, which in many cases does not justify what you should invest. So put down what is your desired growth target from a financial dollar value, which means, do you want 100,000 to achieve in 12 months? So if it's 100,000, can you spend 10,000 in the communication in your marketing? Now, when you're doing budget, there's 2 parts to a budget. One part is what you're going to spend, paid ads and fees. The other part is organic. Now, you've got to split in creating this budget, but usually it is based on an ROI of how much of revenue or of profit after tax we're going to generate, and each business has its own percentage over there. Happy to take this separately if you all need and have a session on this, but there's no thumb rule that is followed. There are industry thumb rules which after the pandemic have gone out of the window. Question number 3. Can you talk a little bit about performance marketing and what we need to be mindful of? Sure. Let me do this with Crater. Let me create a session on performance marketing because I will not be able to cover this in literally 5 minutes. There are a few areas, specific areas you need to be mindful of. So whoever's asked the question, thank you. Great question. I think we'll schedule this in November. Look forward to that. All right. I'm happy to share some tips on it. Number 4. Should you focus on brand building as an early stage company or first reach PMF? Brand building starts the day you conceive of your business idea. Start your brand first, not when you've got into the market, you've got a viable product, etc., etc. Your brand starts. It's like a baby being born. When a baby is conceived, the brand is already conceived, but the baby comes out 9 months later and then grows up after another 18 years or 20 years, and there's a nurturing process. So brand building is absolutely critical. I'm a proponent of brand building, and I always advise 70% of whatever you're spending, spend it on brand building, because brand building is long-term and it brings you long-term results. And Again, I'll cover this in performance marketing, how it will work, but invest in brand building first and start it with your business idea. Even before you bought your website or something, start your brand, get your brand identity in place, your value proposition, what is the solution that is going to benefit, who your audience is, get all of that and start talking about it. Is traditional media still good for marketing? Oh yes, of course, of course. Traditional media has been around, it's not going to die. Use it as a support. So there's a lot of influence that happens from news. Now we know news is negative and news is bad, but you can use not infomercial kind of advertorials, but use the brand to be spoken about in traditional media, whether it's television news or it's in newspaper news or magazine articles about the founders, the CEOs, senior people. The brand story is a whole story. It really helps. But the percentage weight of that media usage depends on which category of industry you're in. So for example, in the education sector, using traditional media would be very important, up to about 30%, simply because it's a cyclical, admissions required and all of that comes through the traditional media. Even when you put out on digital, you put out on social and lead them to the website, there is a requirement, because depending on the educational sector you're in, school or higher education or professional education, you have other decision influencers playing who use media differently. So if it's a school, parents are deciding. Parents, depending on the age group, you've got social media, you also need the traditional media. So that would be my advice. Use it, and for like accounting or healthcare, use it for the news value of the brand that can come out, right? Question 6, how do you segment your database other than where they are in the sales funnel? Well, in the sales funnel, segment it. Create your parameters depending on the industry you're in. And there's simple ways of creating those. Once you create it in the sales funnel and you get the database, create it by account, by certain behavior parameters that are applicable between you and your client business or your prospective business. So the email gets filtered there, and the content that you create for that segment, that behavior pattern with a particular theme, goes to that email over there. Again, this is a very detailed area of how do you create segmentation. So do let us know. Happy to take another session on creating segmentation in terms of target marketing and communication backup. 7th and the last question I'll take right now. So somebody is saying, I am building an offline consumer goods company. 80% of my sales are via vendors. Should I focus on online branding or marketing? Okay, number one, I'm not sure. I don't know in this question, the level of consumer goods. Is it fast moving or is it durable? That's number one. If 80% of your sales are via vendors, you're using other support, definitely, and I can't emphasize this more, make sure you have a brand campaign, a brand building marketing campaign of your brand running online across key social channels, tracking back to your website, talking about the benefit of your brand and the solution it gives to your audience, not about your vendors. Number one. Number two, involve your vendors to create and share their stories as part of what they do for your brand. They could be multiple brand distributors, but have them focus on something or create for them and write out. It works two ways. The vendor gets visibility. Target audience gets to know the brand and the vendor. So the relationship between you and the vendor as business owner and vendor gets stronger. Number one. Number two, it acts as a second level of support to your brand building campaign. People get more trust, more confidence that the company, the brand is advertising and is talking about this vendor also. So yes, short answer, please do have strong online brand building campaign.